What is going on, people of the internet? Hyper Chaotic here with a K, double R, and welcome back, or welcome, if this is your first time visiting my channel. Now, if you're watching this video, I'm considering this video, sorry about that, notifications, casual fans retrospective of MCU 3.5 question mark. There is no actual 3.5 half to this phase. I'm just calling it that because I'm going to include some properties that I completely forgot about or didn't know whether or not it was part of Phase 3 or 4 at all in general. Just, I didn't know where they belong between Phase 3 and 4. And I thought for what I covered in Phase 3 was it for Phase 3. I was wrong. I'm going to start off with the first property that I want to go over with is Inhumans. I did not even know that Inhumans existed up until a few months ago, and I was confused of whether or not it was part of Phase 3 or 4. After double checking, it was originally supposed to be part of Phase 3 as a featured film. Then it got cancelled and was turned into a show, and it happened around the time of Phase 3, but technically it is not a part of Phase 3. It's not part of any of the MCU phases at all in general. But what I do understand from the research I just did a few minutes ago is that it is part of the main MCU universe, and I assume primary timeline instead of one of the variant ones. That one I'm not sure on, but it is part of the MCU. It does reference events from other films and the shows, but for the most part, it's not really part of the phases. It doesn't add anything to Phase 3. It doesn't help build up anything in Phase 4 or anything after Phase 4 as a part of Phase 3 or any of the phases. It's really just off on the side doing its own thing. It's a part of the MCU. It's just not a part of any of the phases. It doesn't add anything to the phases. It's just really doing its own thing. Kind of like the Peggy Carter show. It technically is part of a part of the MCU. It is a part of the main universe. It is a part of the main timeline. But it's just not a part of any of the phases, really. It doesn't add anything to the phases or the build-up of the MCU, at least in the primary timeline, the primary phases. It's just really on the offside, doing its own thing, but it is still a part of that universe. Other than that, what can I say about Inhumans? Absolutely nothing, because again, I didn't know it existed up until a few months ago, and didn't do any research up until me doing this video. I haven't even seen it yet. Now, when given the opportunity to, and if I have the energy to even give a damn about checking out that show, I'll at least give it a try. 1 to 3 episodes, maybe even 4 if I start to like it. But other than that, I'm getting tired of doing homework for these fucking videos. Now I know how a lot of movie review channels feel, and breakdown videos and yada yada. This is not going to be a common thing on my channel. I just really want to cover a little bit of Marvel and the MCU in general, and that is it. This is not going to be a common thing on my channel. I do not give a fuck to do this shit casually. Maybe if one day if I was be paid doing this type of stuff, but I don't think even channel growth alone would convince me to start doing this on a regular. Like, if I was to start gaining a fan base for this, not a fan base, maybe a community for this, I would still do it every now and then just to give people what they want. But man, I cannot do this shit on a regular. I don't care to. I don't give a damn. There are just so many other things to get to. I'm almost kind of regretting touching on the other phases before just going straight into Phase 4. But fuck it. I put myself up to this. I started it. Might as well finish it. I just wish I did better research. Yeah, and I just don't care to catch up on Inhumans. I still gotta catch up on Black Panther and Shang-Chi, sorry. I don't even give a fuck to catch up on Eternals. Multiverse of Madness is already a mess of a film as is. Apparently that film is very cluttered with characters. I'm good. I barely forced myself to catch up on Hawkeye and Miss Marvel, and I don't necessarily think that they're bad after seeing them, but I'm already just forgetting those shows. Like, they came and gone, even though We'll talk more about that when I see the movie on Phase 4. But yeah, I just don't care to catch up on Inhumans, so I can't really say much about it. If I do possibly watch 2 to 3 episodes, maybe I'll give my thoughts on those 2 to 3 episodes 4 episodes maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Can't really do much of a retrospective on something I haven't seen or given enough time to retrospect on. Spider-Man, No Way Home. I'm sorry, Far From Home. Far From Home. Spider-Man, Far From Home. We're not in phase 4 yet. Spider-Man, Far From Home. Another film that I couldn't tell whether or not it was part of phase 3 or 4. After a double check, it's technically a part of phase 3. Black Widow is the beginning of phase 4. So, Far From Home's the end of phase 3. And this film, which is very fucking entertaining. I feel like with anything Spider-Man related, it's hard for me to not like it. Even if, at the very least, a little bit. You're talking to the guy who actually somewhat enjoyed the third Spider-Man film within the Spider-Man Sam Raimi trilogy. You're listening to the guy who actually enjoyed The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 with Andrew Garfield. 2 was a mess, I will say this. 2 was a mess. And it got us hyped for some shit that don't even happen. Like, what a ripoff. Really made us think he was gonna fight the Rhino. Fucking assholes. But I still actually kind of enjoyed some parts of that film. Just for Peter as Peter a little bit, but mostly as him as Spider-Man. People love to say that, you know, we get more of Peter as Peter in the Sam Raimi trilogy. More of Peter as Spider-Man in The Amazing Spider-Man. I think I could kind of agree with that. But for what we got of Peter as Peter, Spider as Spider-Man in those films, I still enjoy it. I still enjoy some parts of it. I can see why, objectively, they are just inferior films compared to some of these other Spider-Man adaptations. But subjectively, I can still enjoy them for what they are. So I can literally enjoy anything, practically almost anything, Spider-Man related. It's hard for me to not enjoy anything Spider-Man related, because just like many of you, I grew up with Spider-Man as one of my primary superheroes, especially Marvel superheroes, or even just superheroes in general. When it comes to all of them, one of your first would have been most likely Superman, Batman, or Spider-Man. And for a lot of us, Spider-Man was definitely one of the primary superheroes we grew up with. One of the primary animated shows you grew up with. Maybe the Sam Raimi trilogy is one of the original Spider-Man trilogies you grew up with. It's just hard for me to not enjoy anything Spider-Man related. And specifically for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, loving it. Fucking loving it. Loving him as Peter Parker as Spider-Man. I'm loving it. I enjoy the dynamic and the dialogue between him, Ned, MJ. Well, that's not an MJ. She's black and she doesn't have red hair. That's not MJ. Where's my redhead? Fuck off. Yeah, she's not Mary Jane, because she's Michelle Jones, a completely different person with a completely different name that just happens to begin with an N and a J. And happens to have the initials MJ. Oh, boo-hoo. Give me a fucking break. She's literally her own character, her own person with her own personality, a completely different name. Crying over fucking initials? It's a different fucking multiverse, asshole. You want Mary Jane? Go watch the Sam Raimi trilogy. Go hop on the fucking comic books. Go watch any of the variety of animated shows that has Mary fucking Jane. And God forbid we got Gwen Stacy and didn't get MJ. God forbid we get a completely different version of MJ. Like, oh my fucking god. And this is, like I said in my Phase 3 video, you're talking about a franchise with a multiverse. Infinite universes, infinite possibilities. A concept that was literally crafted just so they can switch shit up. It was literally made as an excuse for that reason. But God forbid, not everything's in the 616 universe. At this point, I didn't even know what's considered the 616 universe. Because the funny thing is, when it comes to creators or companies that own the rights to a franchise, particularly one with a multiverse especially, just because they said so, anything can or isn't canon. On the drop of a hat, on the drop of a dime, just because the words slipped out of their mouth, because I said so, anything can and will or will not be canon. Because they said so. I'm sorry, but I cannot work with that anymore. Oh, it's a 616 universe because they said so. Well, because they said so, apparently also the comic book universe was once the 616 universe. Because they said so, the animated universe was once the 616 universe. And now, because they said so, this one's the 616 universe. And probably later in the future, because they said so, it will no longer be the 616 universe. Or because they said so, their new variant in this separate version is now the 616 universe. For fuck's sake. Either only one of them is the 616 universe, or none of them are the 616 universe. They cannot all be the 616 universe unless you're saying now we got variants of specific universes, which, given the events in Loki, I could see that being a thing for MCU. Are we in... Then that just leaves the question, are we in 616 Prime, 616A, 616B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I? Like, what the fuck? As far as I'm concerned, the real 616 universe, or at the very least, 616 Prime, if we are going to say there are now variants of the 616 universe, A, B, C, D, E, then I would look at 616 Prime being the original comic book universe that started it all. That started everything. Everything else is just a variant, or it's just a different universe that thinks its universe is 616. Assuming they even just mention or label their universe at all. Because usually the only ones doing that are the fans or the rights holder. Oh, that the comic books are not 616 anymore. The MCU 616. Why? Because we said so. But all the evidence points to this being just a variant, or at the very least not even the Prime, This is the... Nope. This is canon because we said so. This is not canon because we said so. But this doesn't fit into the main narrative, the main timeline. All the evidence... Nope. Fuck the evidence. Because we said so. Fuck off. Fuck you if that's what you go with. Technically, yes, they are allowed to do that. When they're the original creator or rights holder, they are allowed to do that. But don't you ever get fucking annoyed with people just constantly retconning shit? Leave it the fuck alone. We don't need constant retconning. You got a multiverse for that reason. You can retcon without actually retconning. But, why do that when you could just do a proper actual retcon anyways? And what's the excuse? Because we said so. What do you mean by that? No meaning. Because we said so. And it's some of the biggest bullshit excuse. The biggest bullshit excuse ever. It's just some of the biggest bullshit ever. Just, you have a multiverse, use it. Okay, this is not Star Wars where people still don't know if they're ever going to have a multiverse for that franchise or if it even has one. They retconned the shit out of that franchise. Marvel has a multiverse. You have the reason to just say why it is or isn't canon. But no, it's always just because we said so. This is 616 because we said so. Fuck the evidence. Because we said so. So tired of that shit. Beyond tired of that shit. I don't care if it's technically valid. Technically correct is sometimes the best kind of correct. But in this case, fuck technical correction. That's some bullshit. With that aside, I really do enjoy this fucking film. I enjoy the character dynamics. I enjoy the dialogue. I enjoy the action. Sure, the CGI is a bit more noticeable, but it's still entertaining. It doesn't completely take me out of the film, and given that he does fight holographic monsters, I think it's fine there that the CGI looks CGI when even in his world, it's literally just CGI. Or I guess technically CGA. Anyways. Or I know, sorry, CGH, sorry. Hologram, CGH. So not CGI. In his universe, it's CGH. Creatures. And I noticed how when he was fighting the big creatures, usually they would be in a more open area, like a Times Square, until they would corner him into like a street or something. To which they kind of fuck themselves and have to pretend like they can't reach him in order to keep up Mysterio's facade. But of course, when he starts taking on Mysterio, well, sometimes they'll fight in a narrow area, sometimes they'll fight in a more open area. But it's like Mysterio really does narrow his view and his perspective when he starts messing with him with the drones, creating all these illusions, especially when he's literally in that narrow hallway, that narrow bridge. Oh my god, that was just such a good scene. Spidey senses at the max. And apparently there are some people who actually think that Spider-Man actually did kill Mysterio. If my memory's correct, all he did was smack a drone that was about to kill him, and it accidentally shot Mysterio instead. That was in self-defense. That was a complete another accident. It's not like he aimed the fucking drone at him and somehow pulled the trigger. Spider-Man did not kill Mysterio. Mysterio killed himself. Spider-Man knocked the drone away in self-defense and it actually fired the bullet into Mysterio as it was about to shoot Peter. He did not kill that motherfucker. But I guess nobody decided to check the drones then. Those glasses, I'm pretty sure they got all the data on those glasses. You know, the one that he gave to Mysterio that Tony Stark left for him. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't apply too much logic to the MCU sometimes, because it doesn't always work, especially when it just comes to film logic in general. Just okay. Like when you really think about it, there's no reason the events in the beginning of Far From Home should happen, but it is what it is. It's not like we can go back and change it unless we're going to do a universal reboot. I know they've done that in the comics, but we have a long way to go before we can do that with the MCU. Not that I think we should. I don't know how well that would work out. Multiverse, just start putting shit in a different universe. Let's get out of 616 for a while. Let's go explore 725 for a fucking day. How about that? Why don't we go explore 616A, 616B, or why don't we go explore Universe C-137? How about we go explore Universe 2319, where the world is full of monsters? Shout out to anybody who gets that. But yeah, I don't know. Just multiverse exists. Yada yada. Enjoyed this film. There are some plot holes when I really look back at the film. A lot of people have been pointing out how there's some plot holes in the film. How there's a regression in Peter's development as a character a little bit. Same thing happens in Far From Home. This is Far From No Way Home. And I definitely agree. And it really does get annoying, I'm not going to lie. Having a constant regression of characters in a follow-up, it's annoying. This has been a trend in the film industry in general, and it's getting exhausting. I'm tired of it. Of them regressing characters in order just to have a plot by literally just recycling the same plot from the previous film or so, or character progression, development, whatever the heck. Not necessarily just a plot, just one part of it, but yeah. I can look past that and still enjoy this film for what it is. In fact, I would say I can still enjoy it just with nostalgia goggles alone. But even then, that trend still does get annoying, and it's not like they can always get away with it. I wish they would stop with that. And just the idea of Spider-Man being in Europe, just an interesting change in setting. And how different it might be swinging around depending on the architecture of the city. Because in a city like New York, we got constant tall buildings and skyscrapers. He's going to be swinging high in the clouds no matter what. But in other cities like Europe, they're not going to have too many tall buildings and skyscrapers. I would imagine he'd be swinging around a lot less. And this is not even compared to what we got from him when he was in the suburbs. Man, you really put Spider-Man in a different city or a different part of town, and it's funny how things really change up a little bit for him. Like, can't really do too much swinging here. Ain't no skyscrapers. Really fun concept. I enjoyed that. And specific type of buildings and shapes for him to swing around. You know, using geometry and whatnot. But that's really all I can say about the film. I really enjoyed it. It's fucking Spider-Man. And taking Spider-Man out of New York, his dynamic with his friends and the other side characters, I mean, what's there to not enjoy besides the character regression? What's there to not enjoy in this film? It's just fun all around, and you can enjoy this film. You can enjoy this film without watching the other ones. I think you would still technically be missing context without watching the other films on Spider-Man, but you can definitely watch this Spider-Man film without the other ones and just enjoy it as is. And that's about it. Now I gotta start recording on Phase 4. Why did I set myself up for this shit? I still want to talk about WandaVision and What If for sure specifically, but why did I set myself up for this shit? Why me? Why? Not even really getting that many views. I get more views doing my regular content on BitChute. Not doing too well on YouTube so far. Not even with these videos. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed my casual retrospective and just chaotic thoughts on the remaining content within Phase 3. I hope you guys join me for Phase 4. Again, if you haven't seen my off the top of the head retrospectives of Phase 1, 2, and 3, links in the description down below. I separated Phase 1 and 2 into separate videos. Eventually, I'm gonna separate Phase 3 into multiple parts. Probably just a part 1 and a part 2 and a part 3. But that's about it. I really do appreciate it if you watched all the way until the end. Even if you didn't enjoy it, the fact you gave me the time of day, I really do appreciate it. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. If not, leave a dislike. And a comment telling me why. Any and all interaction is good interaction for my channel and the algorithm. Any and all criticism can help me get better. My fucking thumb hurts. I do not know why, because I haven't been doing anything with my hands sitting here and my fucking thumb hurts. Chaotic out. Have a good one. What the fuck?